Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is probably twice as long as Stu, so bear with me anyway. Fornication. Sorry. For an occasion such as this, I'd just like to thank you all for setting aside your day and being here in the tropical climates of the Black Country to celebrate the marriage of Joe and Stuart. A wise man once told me the best man's speech should last about as long as the groom takes to make love. So thanks very much. Obviously, it's a massive honour to be asked to be best man. Stuart's shown great faith in me to perform the task. So I'm going to repay him with some traditional character assassination. As I was quite nervous about doing this speech, I was struggling for ideas, so I turned to the internet for some inspiration. As I'm sure you'll know, there's a lot of good stuff on the internet. A hell of a lot of good stuff in the blank. But after about 4 hours of research, I remembered I was supposed to be looking at speech ideas, so I also tried turning to some famous speechwriters, Martin Luther King and Shakespeare. Well, to quote Mr. King, ladies and gentlemen, I have a dream. To be fair, my dreams are quite dirty, so we'll leave that. As we also know, Shakespeare wrote, love is blind. Well, looking at Stu today, I think we can see where he came up with that line. Just kidding, Stu, as I'm sure everybody here will agree today, he's scrubbed up quite well. And he's really pulled off that Liberace look. Anyway, I'll start right back at the beginning. This is roughly about the same time as God bought his first dog. Stu was born on October the 5th, 1971 at 5:30 a.m. I thought it'd be good to tie this in with some sort of world major event, but apparently nothing else of any interest. Although the staff at Worcester Hospital still refer to that day as Ugly Baby Thursday. The first time I met Stu, we were sat opposite each other naked in a bath. I actually have fond memories of seeing him laughing as the water slowly turned warm. Then seeing him start to scream as I replied with something a little more solid than I am. We have always had that complexity. Unfortunately for Stu, he's a bit of a slow starter. At nursery, Stu was different from all the other 3 and 4 year olds. He was 11. We had an up and down childhood together. The kind of up and down childhood that can only be provided by parents who decided to buy a Skoda and a lager at exactly the same time. Prompted the neighbours to think there was coming under attack from the Soviets. This parental abuse carried on through our school years. My dad kicked us out and done a lot of nail flash. Instead of doing settle around that samba. We were also lucky enough not to have to suffer any of the many unnecessary school trips abroad with our mates. After all, let's face it, at 12 years old, who would want to go skiing in Switzerland with a mate when they could spend 7 days walking up the hills in torrential rain in Wales, sleeping in a freezing cold, condensation-filled tent, surrounded by gnats. Cheers, Mum and Dad. Dad always assured us that camping offered a sense of freedom you don't get with other holidays. Me and Stu thought it offered a sense of shitting in the field you didn't get with other holidays. The rest of our early years was spent recovering from the trauma of dressing like the Bay City Rollers and our cousins. Courtesy mostly over this time. Now, I'd like to regale you with some stories about Stu's drunken behaviour and nice and debauchery, but he did specifically request me to dodge a few of these stories. My memory's not too sharp, so I'll have to write them down. Number 1, throwing the curry up the girl in a white suit when she tried to leak out of the suit. Number 2, the Dingle pellet gun incident. Number 3, the famous embassy focus points. Number 4, crawling around Christopher's bar collecting money off all the drunks on the floor. And number 5, she's penchant for robbery, which included many items of cutlery and lemon squeezers from local curry houses, road work lighting, and a full fireside set, which included a coal scuttle and hearth brush. On Christmas present a few years ago. One frequent occurrence from our youth I will share with everyone is the now legendary brown saucing phase we went through as teenagers. To put you all in the picture, sorry about this. To put you all in the picture, this is an event that regularly took place on drunken nights out, which involved one of us buying a bottle of brown sauce from the chippy on the walk home. Then as a gang, we'd set about one of our mates, strip them off, and cover their meat in 2 beds with brown sauce. On one such night, we'd all been split up, and I was sat on the school wall at Bromley Hills. I think I was with Blank and Tim, although I can't remember who I was with. A police car pulls up opposite us, and he shouts out the window, "Do you lot know Stu Ancliffe?" And I thought, here we go. So against my better judgment, I said, "Yes, he's my brother." At which point the cop had chucked a pair of jeans out the car window and shouted, "Give him these back when you see him." So there I am thinking, Christ, my brother's been violated by Westmeath Gay Police. The next day, when he finally resurfaced, it turns out he'd been stripped naked and brown sauced and was so ashamed he couldn't return home after the police had picked him up. He proceeded to give him his mate Kurt's address. You can only imagine the look of shock on Kurt's mum's face when she answered the door to 2 coppers propping my brother up, drunk and covered in brown. Sorry, Kurt. Now, very briefly, I think I should give a quick mention to the stag do. After a stag do, there's always something that happens that you don't particularly want people knowing about. Normally, this involves strippers, childish behaviour, or a night in jail. In Stu's case, it was 4-hour country walks and a late night games of Jenga. Boring hell. For anyone that didn't know, well, you do know because you've mentioned it, we spent 4 days boating on the Thames, or as I prefer to call it, the National Lampoon's Retard Regatta. By pure chance, me and Stu ended up on a rather nice, rather roomy, well-fitted out 45-foot cabin cruiser. However, some of the other members of the party wasn't quite so lucky. The other boat can only be described as a very cramped 10-foot hunk of junk, or as the boat I referred to it when I booked the holiday, HMS Zimmer. Seeing HMS Zimmer pumping out thick black smoke into a lot full of 7-year-old canoeists was a rather unnerving sight. However, the boat did seem quite fitting considering its crew of rather unable seamen. After expertly navigating their way at full speed into a jetty, they then managed to create their own little whirlpool by ramming it into reverse, ripping a few layers from Sid's hands and taking him water skiing after the guy was still trying to rope the boat in. They then narrowly missed capsizing over the side of a raging weir. We all knew it was pretty serious when we heard Stu laughing. I think it's fair to say Uncle Albert was in proud of you, Steve. As anybody who's seen the film The Hangover will know, they pulled a prank on the groom and ended up losing him. Well, in a similar vein, our prank involved dumping Stu in a field in the middle of nowhere. However, unlike the film, we decided to stay with him for the next 5 hours. This all came about when we decided to let the senior members of the group navigate a 1-hour trip back along the riverbanks in the dead of night, while all the youngsters jumped in a 5-minute taxi ride. Having been dropped off by the taxi at a security hut at midnight, we started our 15-minute walk back to the boat. At about 3:30 a.m, we found ourselves back at the same security hut after 4 hours of walking through fields and woods. If ever you're with Tim and Bod in a field at night and come across a no access sign, under no circumstances let them convince you it doesn't really mean no access. It's probably just a joke by the council, I think it's And I've got, I think you need to update your crap nav on your iPhone. Right, now, I'd like to finally move on to the real love of Stu's life. This is a passion unrivalled by Romeo and Juliet, Posh and Bex, or Barrymore and his pool boy. This unbridled love is obviously reserved for the Crown Green bowling, in particular the Glasscutters bowling fraternity. Joe, if your love life's anything like your bowling life, I'm amazed either of you have made it out the house today. 6 times a week is way too much for a bloke of his age. Joe's passion for bowling began 4.5 years ago with the roller club at Kingswinford Park. This is possibly the driving force behind this wedding, because the only way Stu could get his name on the club championship trophy. I was going to say for those that don't know, but Stu's already put you in the picture. This is a very coveted prize in their house, and after 25 failed attempts by Stu, which I think is 28, isn't it? I got that wrong. Joe entered the competition and won it at the first time of asking. Definitely worth a round of applause. Joe also made the finals of the All England competition after Stu imposed a 48-hour no drinking and no sex ban on her in the morning. They arrived at the venue 2 hours earlier than everyone else, although this may not have been a tactical decision, because basically Stu in the parking was free first thing in the morning. They then spent hours walking the 2 greens, checking the lay of the grass. Yes, Joe, life as an Ancliffe is just one big party. On the theme of bowls, I've actually written a poem for you both. Oh. Apply lotion to infected area. Refrain from self-abuse for 3 weeks. Sorry, stop the poem now. Okay. He took Joe down to Gayford Park, how that memory still lingers. He promised he'd make a real good mark, teach her all about thumbs and fingers. He promised to teach her how to play with his great big shiny balls. She'd been looking forward to this day, she'd been climbing up the walls. Stu told her all about Matt and Jack. Joe had visions of 3 in a bed. But Matt and Jack are both round and black and live on a shelf in the shed. So as her heartbeat quickened and excitedly she waited, suddenly she sickened. It wasn't as she'd anticipated. When telling tales of how he measured up, her heartbeat jumps and flutters, but he only meant crown green bowls and nights spent in the cutters. So I'm sorry, Joe, you married an Ancliffe male. No more champagne in Mauritius. At least the cutters has Enville Ale. I've heard it tastes delicious. You used to love your girly nights, cocktail dancing and fashion. Now it's all about 21 points, because bowling is your passion. Now you've won a trophy or 10, and the county place it calls. But remember, it's just a load of old men who can't stop playing with their balls. Stu did once state in front of Joe's mates, if she hadn't taken up bowls, they probably wouldn't be together, and that their perfect life revolves around an early morning walk in the Babbies, followed by a game of bowls, a few beers, and a takeaway. Let's be honest, what woman wouldn't dream of such things? Also over the years, I believe Joe has played on numerous occasions for the county, Stu hasn't. This actually prompted my dad to donate his county jumper to Joe. And this can often be the cause of much anger in their house. On the subject of anger, one bit of advice I can pass on to Stu and Joe from my own experience is me and my other half, Lena, we never ever get to bed angry with each other. We just stop up and argue all night. Stu's other passion has to be his babbies, Sparty the firstborn and Rambo the orphan. Joe's often remarked, if only he looked into her eyes the same way he does to the dog, she'd be a very happy girl. But just remember, Stu, she's already had Sparky's crown jewels off, so... Now, I must ask the question everyone here is asking, how did Stu manage to find himself a girl like Joe? She deserves the best there is in life. Unfortunately, Stu got there first. Joe has an honest and caring nature, is kind at heart, and always generous. So I just call it the rest of this, Joe, they're not written here. I really would like to mention just how stunning Joe looks today, I'm sure everybody agrees with that. And what a very, very lucky man my brother is. I'd also like to compliment the bridesmaids, who despite what Stu may have said, I think you all look absolutely good. I'd like to finally raise a few toasts. Firstly, starting with some people who are obviously very important to us all here. Without them, our night would be a lot less fun. Hopefully, as the evening progresses, we'll get to spend a lot more time with them. So please join me in a very special toast to the bar staff. Right, I hope I haven't bored you all to death. I hope I did a steel box panini tonight. I hope you all have a fantastic night tonight and one to remember. Ladies and gentlemen, can I finally ask you to be upstanding and all raise your glasses and drink a toast to Mr. and Mrs. Stuart and Joe and Anthony. Bride and groom!